All right, Rudy Giuliani is the subject of an ongoing federal criminal investigation by prosecutors in the Southern District of New York. The criminal investigation is accelerating in Trump's final days in office. One of the two sources familiar with the investigation telling the Rachel Maddow Show and NBC News the case at SDNY involving Giuliani is, quote, very active, with the feds discussing trying to obtain Giuliani's electronic communications. And here's where the plot thickens. The feds can't get a search warrant without approval from the Department of Justice because Giuliani is the president's lawyer and some materials may be protected by attorney-client privilege. And so the timing of recent events matters here. Giuliani has led what critics call the legal clown show, trying to overturn the election, spewing baseless claims of fraud, offering no evidence, and becoming a punchline to fuel the boss's election obsession.
There was a plan from a centralized place to execute these various acts of voter fraud, massive fraud. How is it they all turned around?
Officials and lawmakers in these battleground states. Where is our FBI? And have they expressed any interest whatsoever?
What do we have to do to get the FBI to wake up? I'm sending my votes of people in Michigan over to Germany. I'd fire everybody that was involved in this election.
Attorney General William Barr leaves tomorrow. He's been at odds with Trump over election fraud. And then there's the issue of pardons, with reports that Giuliani and Trump talked about a preemptive pardon. Why would he need a pardon if he did nothing wrong? Giuliani's attorney tells us here at NBC News, quote, no reason to believe there's any truth to the allegations that there is renewed interest in my client, but NBC stands by the reporting, and there is renewed interest in getting Giuliani's electronic communications, and the heat is getting turned up. Joining me now is Melissa Murray, law professor at NYU, and Barrett Berger, a former federal prosecutor for the Southern District of New York. Great to have both of you with us. Barrett, what does very active mean to you here when we hear that term, that a very active investigation is ongoing?
Well, that means to me that they have witnesses that are talking. I mean, you have to remember, if they're thinking that they're going to get an electronic search warrant to go after Giuliani's emails, they have to have probable cause that a crime has been committed. The best way that they would show probable cause is if they have a cooperating witness or multiple witnesses that are telling them about the crimes. So they certainly must have other evidence, but my guess is that probably means they have people that are talking about Giuliani.
Melissa, do you think that they will be able to get those emails? Giuliani perhaps trying to exercise a little bit of attorney-client privilege here. To what extent will the law allow him to hide behind that?
Well, it really depends on how closely related those emails are to the president's business. If there's an incredibly close nexus, then there will be a much harder fight in order to get those to be released. Attorney-client privilege is really arcane, really difficult. But again, this is a place where you can expect the administration to put up a fight, especially if the materials involved are really damning for the president.
Barrett, the reporting states that prosecutors for the Southern District of New York have been in communication with Justice Department officials in Washington about gaining access to those emails. What do those talks sound like from an SDNY prosecutor's perspective?
Yeah, so this is not uncommon for assistant U.S. attorneys to have communications with the Department of Justice if they're trying to seek a search warrant for an attorney's communications. And that's for good reason, because there's a heightened standard when there's an attorney involved. These conversations probably include, what is your probable cause? How are you going to protect against any potential taint? So that means that the prosecutors, if they were able to get such a search warrant, would have to come up with some sort of a filter team, a team that's not related to the actual prosecutors doing the investigation, to make sure that they're looking through the communications to try to weed out anything that would be protected material. But these are conversations that do happen in routine cases. My guess is, given Giuliani's role, these would be getting the highest level of attention, though, from the Department of Justice, and probably have a very different feel than the run-of-the-mill conversation. Yeah,
so to that point, Melissa, from a DOJ perspective, how does the Department of Justice and Barr's exit really impact these talks? Do you think the Department of Justice, which in many people's analysis has been acting as the law office for President Trump, could they be independent enough to make a fair and impartial decision about these emails?
Well, it really all depends on what happens. I mean, this is already a period of transition for the DOJ as they wait for the Biden administration to announce who will be the pick for Attorney General. The fact that there's going to be an acting Attorney General in the interim just complicates this further. So you already have a transition on top of a transition, which may delay the degree to which these sorts of questions can be definitively resolved.
Let me play for you, if I can, really quickly, Barrett, what Rudy Giuliani had said about voter fraud claims. Listen to this.
I can smell crooks. Smell them. And these crooks smell so bad, you can smell them from a mile.
Oh, they stink.
Now, prove me wrong. Prove me nuts.
What is your reaction to that, Barrett?
My reaction is that's not how this works. It's not the job of somebody saying, I've alleged a fraud. Now you go and prove that it didn't happen. That's generally not the way that these things work. Usually, if you're the one making fraudulent claims, you're the one putting forth the evidence that a crime actually happened.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.